Hey guys, welcome to my video on Trigger Happy and writing macros for it. Okay, so let's get started. So I've already got a scene here that I've built using Dungeon Draft, and then I've included a couple of tokens here and there to trigger various events. So we've got let's go ahead and go to the scene. So we've got a locked door and a hidden door. And then we've also got a trigger here for the statue. And then we've got a trigger here and a trigger there. Now, let's go ahead and go into our journals. And I've made one for this one for demo. Okay, so I've got a couple of different things here. So, looking at the scene, there's obviously a pit trap right here. So the very first line, I have an interaction with it where the token pit trap, which is this, hence the name, and you need to make sure that the prototype data matches the same. Okay, so in there, and then we're going to do a trigger, and then capture move, meaning when the player moves onto it, they can't move off of it, and then it runs the chat message, and then through Furnace module, which is what you're going to need to make everything happen with Trigger Happy, it's going to do the trap attack, and then it's going to grab my master trap, and then the attack, which is a pit trap, and then the actual, or rather the attack itself is just pit, and then the token on the canvas is the pit trap. So in this macro, which uses MIDI, it's the master trap, the tack of the trap, and then the canvas trap itself. Let's actually go ahead and look at the trap, the master trap, I mean. So I've got it in here, and then if I go into my traps, so I've got my master traps set up right here, and I've got all the various attacks for it. Now I will warn you, when you're setting up your traps like this, do not make spells. I cannot enforce that more. Don't make spells. You can make weapon attacks that emulate spells, much like this. So I've got inflict wounds, where basically it's a weapon attack, does the saving throw, does the damage, and basically through MIDI it tells it half damage on save. Now if you were to go into your spellbook, the SRD spellbook, and grab inflict wounds, throw it on here, the fun thing that happens is you'll actually throw yourself into an infinite loop of save throws. I'm not sure what causes this, but it never resolves, and you'll just look in your console and just see a flood of results, which then you'll have to refresh your browser because you've officially, as I said, locked yourself into an infinite loop of saving throws. All right. So now that I've made it clear, yes, make all your attacks as weapon attacks. All right. So let's close out of that. Then you can make as many different traps as this. They do need to be unique actors. Actually, if you go into your compendium and then go to trigger actors, they give you a transparent token, so you can just grab that, do import, and if you need to, you can keep duplicating it over and over and over again. So I've already created a couple of ones for this one. Actually, I don't need that one because I decided not to use that one anymore. All right, so we got our three tokens here, which is the detect trap, detect wall, and the lock. So the lock token I'm using right here, which is that. This is the detect trap, and this is the detect wall. So what's supposed to happen in theory is that our player here is going to be able to click on this and it'll unlock this door. Right now I don't have any text messages set up, but you can flavor the macro as much as you want to do it, and then when the player steps onto here, if they successfully make the roll, they'll be able to see this trap. It'll become visible. Then in here, when a player moves to the space, you could also copy and paste and make more of them to give like a better range. But when they move up here, this invisible door, or secret door rather, should become visible. So let's go ahead and take a look at the macros that I've built up for this. Okay, so let's take a look at the trap attack. So in here, this is using Furnace to transfer between the, well, Trigger Happy first does the call from the journal, and then so it's going from here to there, and then when it runs this, so it's executing this macro. You do need to make sure that your trap macros are all set to run to execute as GM, and then plus the GM has to be log on in order for Furnace to do its magic. So we're passing a couple of arguments here. So we're passing the master trap, the attack, and then the canvas token. So when you're dealing with passing between macros, which this trap attack is what we referred to as a callback macro. It's like a macro that kind of lives on its own out in your macro directory, but you don't actually execute it unless you use another macro to execute that macro, and then that macro does something where the player, say, doesn't have permission. A good example would be, like, let's say you cast a healing spell, and in core, it just tells you the print and doesn't actually do it. But however, if you were to use a callback macro, you can then actually heal the target, because then you can pass a token update or do modifications to that token, where normally players, if they don't own the token, they can't update them, so then you'll get a lack of permission error. This whole method bypasses that entirely. So essentially what's happening is that the player is attacking themselves or triggering themselves for this, and the macro just kind of goes as if the GM's executing it and going through that. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, what it does is these ones in parentheses, it actually passes them as arguments. So this is argument 0. It goes in a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. order when passing arguments. So in this case, as I said, this is argument 0, this is argument 1, this is argument 2. And as you can see in here, I've already defined argument 0, which is the master trap. So it goes in here, tries to find the actor for master trap, and if it exists, then it'll say, like, okay, that part's done, let's move on to the next part of the script. Then this one looks for the item, which is as arg1. So arg1 is the attack. So these two are basically what you're calling in here. And then finally, we're looking to find the token on the canvas, because this is canvas tokens placeables. Find, looking for the name, which the name's right here. So it's looking for that pit trap. And then once it finds it, MIDI does its work, where it calls to the master trap, finds the item. Now, when you're passing macros like these, you don't need to define the person that's getting attacked by it, because they're always going to be passed as token. That's one of the cool things that it's probably Furnace is already doing. It's passing token as the token to be targeted. So you just if anyone invokes any type of thing within Trigger Happy, the invoker is always going to be token. So that'll make work easy. So if you want to make a click thing where some spooky message is written out loud to the player, you just put in token if you want to refer to them. So in this case, because it's an object, it needs these brackets. And then we're going to do trap token.center, which means that that's the center position of it. So when they're on top of it, it's going to basically attack attack whatever is within that position. Okay, and then after that, we go to the trap token. We check, basically doing a wait, update, and then set hidden to false. So the token reveals itself, or the trap I mean on the canvas reveals itself after the attack has been launched on it. So then the player knows exactly, oh, I fell into a pit trap. Okay. And as I said, you can add more dialogue messages to this, but they'll usually see in the game trap that the trap itself has launched an attack on them. Here, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. Okay, so let's go ahead and show off this pit trap. So let's go ahead and move our character onto here. They'll be forced to do a dex save. However, he failed it, and then he takes the 3 bludgeoning damage. And, now he can lick his wounds that he's taken that damage. So that's pretty much how it works. And then it'll go through each of your attacks that you defined in Trigger Happy. Now, make sure not to have multiple listings. You want to create a master trap list in your journal. Because if you have too many attacks, when they walk over one trap, it'll trigger them all. So you'll have like all these multi-attacks happening. You'll have to do all these saving throws. So try to have like one journal for traps, maybe something for detection, and try to separate it out and be neat and tidy with that. So then you're not going to have multiple triggers happen. All right, let's move on to the next part. Now we're going to go ahead and discuss how to unlock doors. So, what I've already set up in here is a trigger on this statue which will unlock this door. So the player cannot normally open this door without clicking on the statue. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this is set up. So let's go into our journal and let's go back into our demo thing set up. So what I've done is written a macro called door lock, and it's basically just going to grab the ID from the door, which you do have to define. And then I've also decided to add a little message that's going to be presented once they go through this, once the door has been opened. And basically this is coordinates for the door. So the easy way how to do this is let's go back into our canvas editor, and then we're going to go ahead and click on the door itself. Then we're going to go into our console, and we're going to do canvas dot walls dot controlled. And if you just put in controlled by itself, it's going to show you the wall, but then it's going to give you an array. Now, if there were more walls on here, it would give you a full list of them. So let's say I unselect that, go into here, it's going to give me nothing. And then if I were to go into that and select all these walls, and I go into here, now it's going to give me a ton of walls. And I'm like, oh, I don't know which wall it is. So the easiest part is just simply click on it, click on that specific wall, and then go in here, and you're actually going to put in a bracket for 0. So it's going to be the first in the array, because if you only have one selected, it's going to have 0 here, and if you want to select that as the object, then you just put in that, and it will show you the wall. Now, to get the wall ID, you can either go into data and grab underscore ID from the data, or you can just go into ID, and it's right there. So either way, that dot ID will give you it, and then also data underscore ID will give you it as well. Now, if you want to get the coordinates for the wall, you can actually just go into, let's see here, it's chords with two O's, and that will show you it right here. So in that demo line that I showed right here, it's the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 right here, and you just basically just copy and paste them in, or just manually type them in. And then from there, you put whatever your generic message is. Then from this point, let's go ahead and take a look at the macro for it. Here's my door lock. Okay, so again, we're doing a callback to this door lock macro, and 0 is what's written in here. So this is argument 0. So it's executing the door lock. Argument 0, which is the canvas.walls.get, and then we're just passing the ID. Because if you do that, like let's grab this, and we go into canvas.walls.get, and then we put in the ID. It doesn't need the brackets, and then we pop that in. See, it brings up our wall. And you can do this with any tokens as well, or actors. So now that brings that up. And then basically from here, so we're doing that as our main statement, as get door. And then I just called it lock. You can call these variables whatever you want. Then I'm just going to do get door data.ds. So the locking state is actually stored. Is stored under ds. So 2 is locked, 1 is unlocked, and then there's also different states. The door state up here is whether if it's a secret door or not. So that controls that state. So there are various states. I think I'm right on that. But yeah, we'll cover secret doors in another part of the video. But anyway, for the locked door state, it is a 2. So in this, basically, I've got a true false. So it'll basically do the opposite. So if it's marked as a 2, it's going to mark it as a 1, and then I just simply run an update to tell DS for that variable. So let's go ahead and save that, and let's go ahead and see this in action. They click on it, and then it opens, and you see over here there's also the trap. They can't see that on their side, and so yeah. And then they can just really reopen that, and you can basically go wild with this and have a lot of fun. So yeah, that's for unlocking doors. So for here right now, for the player, they can't see that there's a door right here. However, on our jam screen, we can see it here. Now I placed a token here for trigger happy of detect wall. So if we go into our journal for it, we can see here that we've got detect wall as a token, and then capture move, chat message. Then I've written a macro called detect trap with a DC of 10, and then it has a trigger here of door, and then the door ID itself. So basically what happens is they move on to it. It runs this macro. That's the DC modifier. You tell the macro that you're and it's involving a door, and then it grabs the ID and then makes the ID visible. So let's go through here. We got that. So let's go ahead and actually go ahead and inspect this door real quick to show you what a invisible door looks like. So let's go back through here. We can just up. And then actually let's clip that out. Let's go into the data. And for here, you can see that door is 2 now. On the other example that we looked at, the door was 1. So if we go in here, go there, go there. Now you can see that so a non-secret door is 1, and then a secret door is 2. So yeah, you can go ahead and make this. You can also do the same thing of making doors, converting doors into secret doors. All you got to do is just update and turn that to that value. So let's go back to this. All right, so now essentially what's going to happen is they're going to roll over that, and then it's going to change the value of the door from 2 to 1 is essentially what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and take a look at the macro. So in here, we do token actor, which is a target. Then from there, now you can actually, I was double checking, you can define actor by itself, but it's a lot better actually going from the token to the actor, because if you just put actor, if it's like, let's say you've got something where you've got roaming unlinked actors, then you're going to roll off the sheet, and if like let's say they've got some sort of disadvantage on them or lowered or debuffs or something, things aren't going to actually work as you intended. So it's a lot better always to go from the canvas level for this. So in this case, we've got our target, we've got our, we're checking for the passive and then the skill test. So it's going to roll, we're automatically going to grab the passive of passive perception, and then we're going to do a skill roll on the person. And then we're going to see right here, this math.max is going to see which one's higher. So we're using the passive as the base, and then if they decide to roll a higher skill test than their passive, then hey, that's good for them, else we'll just use our passive score. So kind of giving them the benefit of either one. So then we'll go ahead and do a console log to show the GM that, oh hey, they rolled this versus that versus the DC, and then we'll go ahead and do the actual skill test. So if it's greater than or equals to whatever the DC was, I think we set it to 10, and then it'll get in here. So if it's a door, it's going to go ahead and get the door ID that we already defined. Then it's going to check the door. As we said, it's 2. So it's right there. And then basically it's going to update that door and set it to a 1. And then set a chat message saying, you've spotted a hidden door. And then same thing goes for trap. So if we had a trap, same instance. In this case, we're setting an alias as door and an alias as trap. So you can also make this macro do more things. You could have it do chests. You could have it do all sorts of things. I mean, pretty much sky's the limit. You could have it uncover monsters and do all sorts of things with a macro like this. All right, so from here, let's go ahead and show it off. So let's go ahead and move there. And so the character made their perception check. So if you go in here, you can see it right there where it says perception score 12 versus 10. I mean, you can make this more noticeable, put a bunch of brackets around it, you know, as much as you want. But now the character can actually see the door and then interact with it. For this last section, we're going to go ahead and cover how to disarm traps, or rather how I make them do a pass-fail, and then if they pass, you can delete the trap and the player is pretty much allowed to go on about their business. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So let's go into our journal, and let's go ahead and also I'll pull up the macro for it. Okay. So in here we're going to do the disarm trap macro. Then we're going to set the DC, which is 15, and then we're going to set the skill that's going to be used. So in this case, it's going to be investigate. Then if they fail, we'll pull a trap attack on them. So it'll be the trap, the pit, and then the pit trap is the canvas token. Then let's go through the macros. So the DC, you know, is that. The skill test is that, and then we'll go through grabbing, you know, the trap. the pit trap, and then the pit attack itself. Now, I've also written in here if the actor does have thieves tools on them, they'll automatically use those instead of using investigate. So for that case, they'll go through, do the skill roll, and then it will grab the skill for that, and then check that versus the DC. If it's higher, then it will give you a chat message saying if they were successful or not, and then it will delete the token. Else, they'll go through and meet the pain train of the trap being sprung on their face. So let's go ahead and see it in action. So on our player side here, he's going to go ahead and click on the trap. And as you can see, he does a dex roll. For his tool trap, but unfortunately he failed and he gets caught by the pit trap. Now, I mean, necessarily this isn't going to be always what you're going to do for every pit trap. I guess you could try to roleplay that maybe there's some sort of swinging cage that came down and hit the player or something like that. But let's go ahead and try this again. Maybe you can make that roll. So this time he rolled a 22. And it says that he successfully disarmed the pit trap, and now the pit trap is gone. So this is just a lot of the crazy things that you can do with Trigger Happy. You can automate all sorts of things. You can make monsters appear. You can do pretty much whatever you want. And if you got any comments or questions, just go ahead and leave those down below. Thanks for watching the video. Now, for the macros showcased within this video, I'll go ahead and leave them in the video description. Go ahead and share this video and spread the word about it to anyone that you find that needs that little push with Trigger Happy. I'd also like to send out a special thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. That'll end it for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.